I never sang for my father, Gene Hackman, Melvyn Douglas. The opening scene, airport, Hackman meeting his parents off a flight. He's got a wheelchair available for his mother. His father, fiercely independent, even at 80, spends the first 5 minutes bickering about everything and anything and nothing, but shows this complete sort of lack of trust in everybody. Sounds like me. Hackman's voice, he plays Tom Garrison. Death ends a life, but it doesn't end a relationship. His father is Tom Garrison. His name's Gene. Mother Margaret, and Alice is, I think, his sister. Alice is his sister. I'll just... Yep. And I think this is going to be quite a sad. We go out into the country where Hackman appears to live. I've forgotten the names already. And as his father strides off into the distance, followed by his mother, he goes into a house and starts taking off the dust streets as soon as assumes where they're going to stay. And let's go back to that Tom, Gene and Margaret. It appears Gene is a widower. His wife died a year ago. He's now back out and he's got a girlfriend. Brief comment with his father about it. Also brief comments about his mother's seizures, whatever that means. His father's a complete control freak. Gene's plan to go to California, his father's quick to point out that this plan would result in his mother's demise through sort of loneliness and sadness at not being near him. Just only a little bit of pressure then. Father recalls when he was a young boy, after his father had walked out on his mother and him, and when his mother died, he refused to allow his father to be involved in the service. And then later he refers to his father's demise as a result of heavy drinking. And so we're really, in the first few minutes, getting shoved right into the depths of sadness and loss. Gene tells his mother his plans to go to California and live with Peggy, who's got 2 children, as a doctor. His mother takes it very well. She's very realistic about the fact that he needs to move on. He returns to his small room, leaving his parents at their place. And he's clearly struggling to come to grips with the fact that his plan is to go to California and he hasn't told his father. He's getting these sort of flashes of hearing his father, seeing his mannerisms, the whole job lot really. He goes to see his friend. I'm not sure it's Peggy or whoever it is, but in bed he's struggling with his feelings towards his father. he describes being bossed about like a little child and hating his father and hating himself for hating. And then he recollects his father as a younger man, an important man, a powerful man, an influential man, and now nothing. Slipped back into obscurity. The woman is Norma, obviously a casual lover of sorts. Watching his facial expressions, Hackman, he really is giving his all here in terms of his anxiety. His mother's ill, of course, in hospital, and his frustration with his father. His acting is of the highest calibre. He's sort of capturing that frustration, that agony of being unable to steer things in a way which is less painful. Brilliant. In a sort of waiting area, Gene finds his father, and his father then starts to reminisce about times with his grandfather. He's a great actor, Mervyn Douglas. Gene's mother dies. She contacts Peggy with the news. The doctor at the hospital passes on his two-penny that Gene's father shouldn't be alone in the house. Oh, just an extra little bit of pressure that Gene and his father then go to an undertaker's funeral home, view caskets. His father's alarmed at the price of these $900 up for $2,000, and then he recalls his mother's funeral for a second time and repeats the story about not letting his father come to the funeral. Gene meets his sister at the train station, Estelle Parsons, Easy Rider, and he shares with her that the father doesn't change at all since my mother passed. He seems oblivious to it. Melancholy, the music, as they all get ready for bed in separate rooms, in separate beds. The two children, sister, where we think his sister very vacant. The two of them then discuss what happens next. She makes it perfectly plain that it would be hell if he came to live with her and her husband and kids. He's too bossy. Yet she acknowledges that Gene should get married to Peggy. But what are they going to do with him? And Gene reflects once again of the man of old, the dignity, the community viewing him in positive fashion, and now he's just considered by one and all as a nuisance. Gene's sister makes a very poignant point about this guilt complex. I do a lot for my kids, but I don't expect them to pay me back at the end. That sums up in an absolute nutshell what a good parent is all about. However, it's not preached, not practiced way it's preached in so many situations. The sister delivers a few home truths for Gene about how his father beat him as a child, but Gene still can't get round this idea that it appalls him to see where it's led to, and the fact that he wants to wrap his arms around him. That's missing. As the father reads the letter that he's written to a friend post his wife's death, the camera brilliantly pans to the son and daughter and the expression on their faces when listening to this sort of monologue. It tells so much about how they feel about their father. Alice's mere suggestion of a housekeeper and her father goes into a lengthy diatribe about his past accomplishments and his sense of sort of pride, but his total refusal to acknowledge where he's at now in life. He's just rabbiting on about all those accomplishments when he was a younger man, his ability to hire and fire style, and over exaggerating his meagre accomplishments when his wife was too sick to do them. But from an acting point of view, Douglas is absolutely tremendous. Alice continues down this road that she and her brother are moving on, but Gene buckles immediately. His guilt, overriding sense of guilt, he's unwilling to tell his father his California plan. He's weak. The conversation or argument or step two abruptly comes to a halt when the father ends the conversation and walks off, visibly hurt by the inference that he can't look after himself. The emotional pain shifts to the two siblings now, as Alice, determined to spell out the truth, the reality for Gene, though he's desperately trying to avoid facing up to it. But the acting Estelle Parsons and Hackman is off the charts. It's absolutely fantastic. Alice sums it up in her last sentence to Gene. He wants your balls and he's had them. In regard to Gene's inability to stand up to his father. Gene's parting shot to Alice is that he's going to stay with his father for a while. He's giving in. The following scene, next day, as she departs on the train, so poignant. We then catch Gene at a prospective retirement facility, but the sound's being sort of muffled or muted a little by the director, which is an interesting technique to accentuate the visual picture as we see these faces staring up at him, all these old people who are completely lost. So Gene gets a full look at the residential facility and then into the hospital facility. The inmates or the residents seem to have a vast, diverse set of abilities or lack of abilities. A real cross-section of those capable of doing amazing things, and those just full of dementia. As he leaves, the sort of faces that he's seen, he's taking out with him, they're sort of already sort of haunting him. It's extremely powerful. So Peggy arrives from California. Gene takes her out to the house. He meets father. It's all very cordial. Gene finally broaches the possible plan of relocating and marrying Peggy. And his father bounces back with the suggestion that they all come and live in his house. The inevitable confrontation is painful to watch. Father digging in his heels, a huge chip on the shoulder about what he's done, what his son should be grateful for, and the son trying to accommodate every which way but loose, and eventually recognising that he's battering his head against a brick wall.